Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Seatbelts have been mandatory in this country for about 3 decades, which is good because no other sports town needs protection from harm all day, every day, more than we do. In other words, buckle up. The return of Kyler Murray is here, or at least it better be. The re-entry point of Murray's polarizing career now hovers over Sunday's game against the Falcons, and it will begin an 8-week exercise with huge ramifications because this new regime has no ties and no long-term commitment to Murray, and they're going to have to make a franchise-defining decision when the 2023 season is over. Is Kyler our guy for the long term, or is it time to draft his replacement? Now, some believe the Cardinals might have already made that decision, that they might not activate him at all, thereby creating a path off of his massive contract. I would be stunned and a bit outraged if that were the case. Do we not remember how good he can be, how good he might be with a real head coach in a real evolving NFL-type offense? Granted, Murray has not been an impact player since October of 2021, and much has changed. He's been passed up by a bigger Sooner, Jalen Hurts. He's been passed up by Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. He's been passed up by Tua and Trevor. He's been passed up by a quarterback drafted 7 months ago in C.J. Stroud, and maybe even a quarterback drafted 11 years ago in Geno Smith. Now it's the time for Murray's majestic, magical, soaring return, or at least it better be, for everyone's sake. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW. Make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
I know fans are curious about Kyler Murray. Any update for this coming week?
Not right now. No, I'm not thinking about that right now.
There you go.
Cardinals are not thinking about it right now. They're just not thinking about it right now.
Why would they be thinking about the return of their franchise quarterback?
They are thinking about it.
You notice that Cliff Kingsbury was all about the, yeah. And Jonathan Gannon's all about the, no.
Mm-hmm. So one guy is
positive and one guy's
negative. One guy's nah.
By the way, Geno Smith really appreciates being included in your blast today.
Yeah, well, it might be a stretch, but I wanted to make a point. I took a little editorial license there.
Okay.
But again, this is kind of, Kyler Murray at one point in time was probably considered a top 7 quarterback in the NFL,
right.
Maybe even top 5.
You're right.
And that time is not anymore. And once he gets back on the playing field, the thing about it is that by all appearances, Kyler Murray has checked every box in terms of being engaged, being present, being a good teammate, being a leader in the meeting room, in sort of staying engaged with everything and creating relationships and trying to be a better leader. He's done everything the right way, but the stuff that really matters, he still has to prove. The stuff on the field, between the lines against a real opponent on a Sunday. And with this regime, that's going to mean a lot. It's going to mean getting up under center. It's going to mean executing the offense. It's going to mean making big plays when you need to and making the small plays look easy and doing so with a confidence and a hunger. I think that's really the big thing. I think what we see off of Kyler Murray, I think we're going to feel where Kyler Murray is as much as see where he is.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And the visual is going to mean something, his comfort level, especially when things break down. Are they going to change his usage? Absolutely. You've mentioned it. We've been talking about it for not just this offseason, but for years. Kyler Murray needing to be under center more. That will happen in this offense. But when things start to break down, how does Kyler Murray deal with the psychological of it? His trusting, hey, is this knee good enough for me to go take off and be dynamic with my legs again? He's always been very good at avoiding unnecessary contact, getting as many yards as he can, get out of bounds, or sliding down in the middle of the field. But I got to be honest, before we get to that point, Bick, I'm still stuck on this insistence from the Cardinals coaching staff and organization really to be so, unwilling to share information on this timetable. I'm a firm believer in professional athletes. If they're healthy, they should be playing.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes across the board in sports. And if Kyler Murray went to Jonathan Gannon this week and said, I'm ready to go, and they're like, let's just pump the brakes another week, that to me leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Well,
and it also keeps that possibility alive that, when Wednesday, that deadline to activate Kyler Murray and put him on the 53-man roster, as we speak right now, 2 days away from that deadline, there's a chance that doesn't happen.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there's a chance that doesn't happen. That doesn't make any sense to me, but let me back up because I hear what you're saying about the transparency and why they need to play these games, but they're very consistent in that. They played these games and it was between Joshua Dobbs and Clayton Tune.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this. I understand the way people are reacting. I just don't take a post-game reaction from a head coach and I don't drop that into this story. I don't think a head coach after a game, the emotions of it all, has any responsibility to address anything about the future. I think they have a responsibility to try to provide analysis and response to things that happen on the football field. I'll change my mind if they continue this throughout the course of the week because I think this moment demands the football team to make a big deal about this, to let people know our guy is back. Will they do that? I have my doubts, but as of right now, I don't hold that against this coaching staff right now. I don't, even though Jonathan Gannon didn't give an inch yesterday, that doesn't bother me. Not post game, not in the heat of a Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And there's really no disrespect to Jonathan Gannon, but there's no weight to what he says after a game because guys, remember at this time last week, we were saying, he says that Josh Dobbs is going to start again against the Browns. And
that's true.
Now where are we?
But again, and now that, and again, I'm not trying to mitigate everything for Jonathan Gannon here. But again, I'm not sure that was a lie. I think at that point in time, Jonathan Gannon did not know they were trading Josh Dobbs. That's my belief, or at least it's a possibility. The idea that they might not play Kyler Murray. That to me would seem to be really foolish because if you were going to do that, that means you've already made up your mind on him based on what? Based on money? Based on finance? Based on the fact that you think Caleb Williams is better? That you think Caleb Williams will be available to you because you've had it with him? I don't understand what would be if Kyler Murray is ready to play football and wants to play football, what would sitting him down accomplish?
I have no idea, and foolish is the right word again because can you have your mind made up based on what Kyler Murray has done as a pro quarterback under a different regime? I don't think you can. This might be a hand in glove fit. Kyler Murray and Drew Petzing's offense might really be exactly what this team needs. We don't know that, but the possibility that exists is still out there.
Yeah,
and
you want to find that out.
We're not really all that enamored with what we saw from Kyler Murray. You have to consider what he was playing in, the conditions he was playing in. And I'll say this too, because Jonathan Gannon, this team has been through it, and this 6-game losing streak, they're losing by an average of 15 points a game. So that whole competitive nature thing. That's fallen by the wayside a little bit. The guys that are out there, they're probably starting to feel it. Their confidence being shaken. Jonathan Gannon was asked about that.
Yeah, these guys aren't going to waver. We're going to show them the tape and say, hey, this is what we need to improve, and this is what we need to do to give ourselves a better chance to win the game. So we'll put all our effort and focus into Atlanta, good football team coming in here, and playing at home and try to go get a win.
For the guys that have been out there every week for a 1-8 football team, getting Kyler Murray back would go a long way into getting some wind in their sails, regardless of what happens. And I don't think there's many wins to be had on the rest of the schedule. I'm not looking at these next 3 weeks. I know Jarrett said it earlier in the show that these are winnable. Show me that any games are winnable for this team. But for Kyler Murray to come back would go a long way into, I think, improving the morale of this team.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here. I think with the return of Michael Wilson, and if they can get Amari DiMarcado or at least some semblance of a running back, you drop an excellent quarterback into any situation, you're going to be in games with chances to win. Now, is Kyler Murray ready to be that guy? That's the big question.
Yep.